Good evening. Welcome to Pinstripes After Dark. This is the return. I want to thank everybody that stayed up late. Also, a big shout out to Jason for being able to hang out with you guys all for a little while on his channel, and him tossing everybody over here. It is great to see everybody. This is where we're gonna dial it back to what this was. Its original intentions were, and just to have some non gameplay news, some non BS, and just have a little fun. Random conversation, nothing in particular. But there are two things that we're going to be diving into tonight, and that is on the baseball side, the pitching rules coming into the new year in 2025 with the innings limit on the starting pitching, which can work both ways. And then we're going to talk about something completely non-baseball related or sports related. So we're hoping that everybody has a good time in the chat. So the new rule that was proposed, and it's not actually in effect, but it's being rumored, and that is that starting pitches now have to go 6 innings unless they've already thrown 100 pitches or their team is down by 5 runs or more. Let me know if you guys think that that is a fair rule, and I'll tell you why, what my opinions are on it. But first, we're going to do a quick roll call, and I'm going to start it out with the night legend, who really doesn't get a chance to hang out with us too often, and that is Brad Jewis. Brad, welcome back to the chat. I miss you, bro, in these chats. I really do. So we got Consigliere, Yankee boy number 7, Joel with us always. Jason, what is going on? We also got David Sobel here. Jonathan, as always, with us in the chat. NFE, as always, appreciate you, bro, and thanks for helping us out this morning. So we will be doing a regular show that we normally do Mondays. We will have me, Rob, and Donald at 10 o'clock later on this morning. So a lot of talking for me. Ken, always good to see you as well. And let's have just a little bit of fun. But before that, Consigliere, again, as always, thank you for the $9.99 super sticker. Appreciate you. You are the man. So when it comes to the new rule that they proposed for the pitches, this is what I like about it. Okay, they want to have. I like that they're putting an emphasis on the starting pitching, because the bullpen is constantly getting worn down by the time the All-Star break comes, because they're all coming into the games in the 4th, 5th, 6th inning. But the starting pitchers are the ones making all the money with the pitching. They're the ones making bank, but they're not holding up their end of the deal, in my opinion. All right, if I'm going to be paying you premier pitching money, I want premier pitching. And that means a quality start should not be 5 innings. A quality start should be 6. Right? That I stand firm on. I never liked that part where it was, well, they got through the 5th inning, they got halfway through the game. Yeah, but now you're asking them, your bullpen to get all those extra outs. Okay, that to me, and they want to pay the relievers pennies on the dollar. Relief pitchers do not make a lot of money. Some of the guys do, obviously, because you're going to have, some of those guys that are above the fray. But for the most part, you really can't justify paying somebody $3 million a year and asking them to pitch just as many innings as a starting pitcher as at the time of the season's end. To me, that's just asinine. So I want to put your comments in the chat, and we will stop and we will start bringing up some of those um, responses to it. Hey, Dead Finch, I see you in the chat. What's going on, bro? We're going to start with this comment here from Egyptian. It's official they're making them go 6. No, it is not official. But it is something that is, like NFV says right after you, it is being proposed. I don't think it's going to be next year. I think that's going to be, I do think they should put it in the next CBA. The CBA, as a union guy, CBAs are very important, right? That's what keeps everything structured. You can't just go making rule changes because you feel like it. There's a system involved, and you have to trust the system. Some rules we're going to like, some rules we're not. But as long as they're going through the proper channels and everybody's agreeing on it, then there's no harm, no foul. All right. So I don't think it's going to be in 2025, but I do think they will do something to emphasize the starting pitching value in the next CBA. Jonathan's response here: one way to have a starter go farther is not to throw so hard and focus on better control of the pitches. Yes and no. Yes and no. All right. And here's why. All right. From my point of view as a baseball fan, I want to, the evolution of the game was it used to be a fastball was between 93, 96. If that's what you're throwing now as a starter, you're considered, you're a bottom of the rotation guy. It doesn't matter how well you command the zone. They want flamethrowers. And I think that's also why this rule will put that into effect and will make it easier for pitchers to go deeper because it's going to make them self-adjust. And they're going to be able to kind of not empty the tank all in one shot. Because that's why it's like, let me just empty the tank for 5 innings and let the bullpen take care of the rest. And I don't think, especially now with the pitch clock, I don't think it serves a purpose for them to empty the tank so quick because they also have to rush against the clock. So now you're involving all these different things, and I think that's also why you're seeing such an increase with pitching injuries. I see my cousin Nick jumped into the chat. Go Mets. Let's get this Subway Series. I'm not against the Subway Series. I'm really not. But here's what I will say, Nick. All right. We'll go into a deeper dive in this later. All right, because we're going to have a little time. I think because due to the drought for both teams, I don't think it serves New York to really go at each other. I think New York would do better if one was standing above, rather than the other, if that makes any sense. So Brad is throwing in here. Okay. 6 innings for starters is silly, to be honest. What if they get shelled early? Well, that's part of the rule. Okay. Part of the rule that was leaked is if a pitcher goes more than 100 pitches, they could be pulled. If there's an injury, they could get pulled, obviously. But I think what they're going to do to avoid the injury thing is if you get pulled for an injury, you can't make your next start to avoid them making up the ghost injury. And I think it's also if they give up 5 or more runs before they get into their 6th inning, the manager can, for competitive reasons, they can change the pitcher before that. So it's the only thing it stops is the opener, says Joel. The opener is dumb. It really is. You're asking a guy that would normally pitch in the 7th and 8th inning, sometimes the 6th, to now start the game, and I don't think it works. I really don't. I don't think the opener works for the game. I think it really, for lack of a better term, I think it dumbs it down on the competitive end. And Tampa Tampa was very good at it. But just because it works for one team doesn't mean it works for everybody. Look how it bit us in the ass in the playoffs when they tried playing games with David Garcia. It's just it doesn't work. Um, yeah, Nick is asking also about the Mingas not being pulled up. This is a very Nick. That's a very controversial thing. Okay, um, you can dive into that, but I do want to finish the discussion of the with the new pitching rule. If the pitchers consistently pitch 95 plus, they will blow out their arms 50. Well, that's the problem because that's what they're doing, Jonathan. They're emptying the tank. They're throwing as hard and fast as they can. You know, not everybody has that firearm. Okay. And it seems like now they're more interested in how fast you can throw over how much control you have. And there are a few that have both. You know, it's not an anomaly when you have that, you know, where guys can just constantly throw 97 to 100 and still have pinpoint control. But you see, even they will have those innings where they just get shelled. It's, you know, because they just can't hit the zone and they're throwing so fast that everything's going wild. And so it's just really, that's where it gets very muddy. Yeah, that is the same union that said not to punish Houston for cheating. That's I know, and that's a can of worms that constantly gets opened up. Yeah, baseball let them off the hook, but it's not something that we haven't seen before. You know, we saw it with the steroid era with Seelig. Everybody, you know, they all got demonized, but baseball let it go because it brought attention to the league. Okay, it wasn't until everything got all muddy in Congress where they had to act. They didn't let it get to that point with Houston because they gave them they allowed Houston to give that bullshit press conference, and everything just got swept under the rug because it was, you know, they were the team that sucked for so long and rebuilt and they were legit, you know, and what really pisses me off with the scandal, they all had the talent. They didn't need the scandal. They really could have done it on their own. They were that good. So that's what's disappointing for me as a baseball fan is they didn't need to go that route. We had a lion here. Oh my God, can we stop bringing up the Astros? It's like, dude, that's still pissed at the house girl. No, listen, LA. All right. Let me just close this door. It's where I can speak a little louder without waking up my wife. Just not now you're pushing my buttons. It's not that we're pissed off because, you know, we got left at the altar. Okay, we're pissed off because there was a situation that happened and it was ignored. Like it didn't matter what they did. Their hands were completely clean because of one press conference. And you and I, over the last few years that we've been doing these shows, we've gone in and we've gotten at each other a lot for that. All right. And like Rodney's saying, they all snitched on each other. Okay. That just shows the dysfunction of the whole thing. All right. What's going on, D-Rod? Good to have you joining us. We're pissed off because our wife cheated on us and got away with it. Well, yeah, on a personal level, David, you're right. We did get cheated out of an MVP for Judge. But we don't care. You know, we like to see the MVPs. We like to see the Cy Youngs and the Rookies of the Year and the Gold Gloves. The only trophy that matters is the World Series. That's it. Right? And that's where the focus needs to be. Right? It's nice to have the single, you know, the individual accolades that can be counted up and tallied up at the end of a career to see if they're Hall of Fame worthy. But on a year-to-year basis, it's very minimal to the big goal. All right. But the reason it came up to begin with was the goal is we all want to win. I really, it's like, yeah, 15 years without a World Series, Jonathan. You're right. So I want to bring this to what Nick brought up earlier. All right, and I want to get your opinions in the chat. We'll pull them up. We'll all have a good time. Is it better for the Mets and Yankees to make a World Series run by themselves, or is it better for New York and baseball for another Subway Series? So if you're able to have, let's say, the Mets and the Yankees in the World Series, or the Yankees and the Dodgers, or the Mets and Houston, like, which one do you think would get the most media? And then Brad's going, damn man, if you didn't realize how many from Pitcher Chronicles you got over. Hey, listen, this is how this family works. That's all. It's all we get. Yeah, we're going to circle back to that, Ken. We will. But I think that it's one of those, there's so many things that, see, that's the best part about this whole community. One topic just turned into 5 that I got to keep up with. And I fucking love it. And so, Jonathan, all right, so right here, all right. I don't think it matters, but Yankees would get the most media. I think both teams would, because both are in a significant drought. Nick is saying Subway Series for sure, because all the spotlight on New York for the potential 7 games. Don't have to share a spotlight with LA or Philly. Well, it's also the teams in the American League. It's who's looking forward to, it's like last year with Texas and Arizona. It was a well-played World Series, but if you're not a diehard fan, you're not tuning in. You're not locked in to see, if the little engine that could beat the bigger little engine that could, because both teams really weren't, they weren't being circled as World Series contenders. So that's how I feel about it. And this I do agree with. I think Yankees Dodgers would get the most eyeballs watching, because for 5 years now, maybe more, right at the end of the offseason, Vegas puts out their predictions, and it's always the prediction, World Series, Dodgers Yankees. That's it. That's how it happens. Ken's thrown in there between 77 and 96, 19-year difference. Yeah. It's pretty rough. I'm gonna get this comment in here from D-Rod. The LA Yankees would get more attention nationally. No one west of the Mississippi would care about the Subway Series. And I agree with that. That's why it's like, they're dying for that Yankees Dodgers. They're dying for it. All right. But I don't think the Dodgers are going to make it. I don't think they're going to survive the AL. I think the team they have to go through, they got 2 teams that they're going to struggle with if it gets to a postseason platform. And that's going to be the Padres and the Phillies. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Yeah, Brad, you know me. I was there for every single one of them. But yeah, I don't think Arizona's getting in this year either. I think they're going to fade out. I mean, they're putting a good run together. They're not making it easy for teams. They are a good team. I don't think they're not going to pull the Royals and go back to the World Series on pure luck. That I do not see at all. But I do want to circle back to the rule changes and the effects of the rule changes that have been proposed. These are not official. You might not see this until the CBA. But you started off the show. If you haven't been able to get your opinion in, give me your opinion, and I will definitely take a look at it. And that is pitchers going 6 innings. They can be pulled if they reach 100 pitches early. Before then, they can get pulled early if there is um, an injury, or if they give up 5 or more runs before their 6th inning is finished. So, do you agree with it? What do you think the effects are? Pro, con, indifferent? And while we're on the rules thing, what rules would you like to see changed? Is the pitch clock? Jonathan's throwing in here the ghost runner, which the ghost runner is stupid. I don't like it. I have said that I was very against the pitch clock, but being at a game, you don't even notice it. You really don't. You only notice it when you're looking at the injury report and how many pitches are going down. Nick is thrown in here. Don't like MLB dictating how teams manage. Yep. That's a big part of it. But I believe the reason is, I said this, I'll repeat it a couple more times if I need to. Starting pitchers are making a tremendous amount of money. And if the pitcher is only going 5 innings and then have to put all of that on the bullpen, how many times do we see? I bet you if you look it up, you can see where there are starting pitchers that have less innings than their bullpen. Right? And I know bullpens pitch more because they're used more on a more daily basis. But it is a factor. Honestly, I'm not for the idea of starting pitchers going 6 innings. No, I think because the flip side of it, one, we haven't seen it, so we don't know the effect of it. Like now we can get an idea of the effect with the pitch clock, how pitchers are rushing. They're trying to make, they're maybe a step behind with the catcher, and they're trying to just, the pitch comp thing never freaking works, and they're rushing the clock, and they're overextending their arms, and they're getting injured. So I think that's why they're trying to implement this rule to put more value. Because look, if I'm paying you $40 million a year, all right, well, let's use Cole as an example, all right? Just because this is a Yankee channel, he's making $36 million a year. If you're paying him $36 million a year to go 4 or 5 innings, that's a lot of innings being asked for out of your bullpen every day. So I understand. Look, if I'm paying you max money, I want max effort. I want to maximize. I want max value on my investment. So that's where as an owner, I would make my argument to the CBA, going, "Hey, this is why I want this. If they're not going to go deep into the game, I'm not paying these exuberant contracts for starting pitching. I wouldn't do it. Why would I pay you $36 million a year to just give me 4 innings every 5 days, and then give my relievers $3 million to pitch every 3 days for an inning and a half? Where's the logic in that? The financial logic is not there." Let's get to a couple more of the comments. And Brad is saying, I am not a fan of the mandatory 6-inning rule for starters. And I do want to keep saying this is not guaranteed. Like, this is not something that's definitely in. This is just a rumor that got floated out. And I wanted to kind of bring it to the discussion to see where we can go with it. Catfish Hunter was the first $1 million free agent. Yeah. Players that, Ken was, he remembers. I kind of remember. Players had jobs in the offseason. Now, they didn't just go and sit in their, in their mansions or take a little trip on their yacht. So it's a very, I think it's a lose-lose with this role, because some people, and because fans are going to be very split down the middle. There are players that are going to be split down the middle. GMs, owners, managers are going to have to kind of be a little more strategic in their lineups and their rotations. Sunil, what's going on, Sunil? I paid $36 million a year to watch a guy talk about being in a class. All right. Here we go with these guys. It's good to see the After Dark crew back together again, going at each other. Love it. Oh, it gets tricky. It's. Do you want to? Nick is saying he'd rather put a salary cap. That's an interesting angle. Because they're trying, I think in a way, they're trying to really bring down the overall salaries in the game. That's why they keep adding to these thresholds. But I don't think baseball is a game. I don't think they'll ever see a cap. I don't think they're going to be like, well, this is the max you could pay a player. I just don't think that works. David's saying the metrics as to value in a pitcher has to change. But how do you measure the metric? That's where things really start to muddy up. And it's like, all right, is it, but what are you putting your value in the pitcher in? Do you want a guy that's going to be able to get you high velocity, solid control, low home run rates, low ERA, high K? It's so hard to get that. Right? It's not working. Kind of putting into the discussion, Tats, what's the logic of playing a right fielder contract, $50 million AAV, who is a good hitter with mid-range fielding? Who are you? All right, so I'm assuming you're discussing, you're bringing up Soto in that one. I think the year that Soto's having justifies the money, even if he's not the number one guy, because he came into a situation where he's moved teams multiple times, right? He's turned down tremendous contracts, and he's doing it in the bright lights of New York, in the shadow of Judge, and not missing a beat. It's hard to get that in this media environment. It really is. So I think in that aspect, it does increase his value. So, and yeah, Ella, you're right. He's having one of his best defensive seasons of his career. And so it gets tough. It really does. And Ronnie, those guys are few and far between. Jonathan saying, I think it may be time for a new GM. Who's the guy? Who's replacing him? And you can't just say anybody. Anybody would be better. No. What if you have a GM that comes in that just decided decides, just for the sake of winning as a GM, trades every prospect that we got with value. All right. What then? Then what do you do? Yeah, Kim Ang. I don't see Kim Ang coming. I would welcome her in a heartbeat. I really do think she was the missing piece before extending Cashman, especially after she was so bitter with Miami. Theo Epstein, I don't think he would come back to a GM role. I think Epstein is very happy in his position. That is called the boss. Mets fans need brains to understand first and foremost. So, what I don't understand what you're trying to say, Sunil. But and you know what? This is actually what I was going to lead into. He's working his way up the ranks. He can be a commissioner. I think he'd be a phenomenal commissioner. I know I did not. No, if you can retype it, right? Epstein, yeah. Ken, you're in agreement with. Oh, I see what you're saying, David. That George did it all the time. Yeah, and before he got suspended, and Stick had to really get everything under control with his team. It's that's why we had the dynasty. George was taken out of the equation, and they brought up the kids that were developed, and ergo core 4, core 5 with Bernie is why we had the run that we did. All right. Jonathan's helping out a little bit. Off topic hot take, Brian Cashman is building a dynasty in the farm system, the core we are seeing at the MLB level. I think they do have the potential. Like we're seeing the tail end. We're seeing at the end of the season, we're going to see Glaber gone. I don't see a way for him to stay. Not that he's a terrible player. It's just not working. He's not consistent enough. It's just unfortunate because he's a good player. He's dying to stay for a Yankee. He wants to be a Yankee for life. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. But it's time for them to get to the next stage because the baby bombers of Judge, Torres, Sanchez, it didn't work. It fizzled. There's only one man standing strong out of that group from 17. And yeah, Steinbrenner wanted to trade everybody. Williams, there were a few people almost that you had Jeter, Bernie Williams, Rivera. George wanted to trade them all. And I think that's one of the reasons why they pushed him. They got him suspended. I do think it was a conspiracy to save the team, to save the farm system. So that's why I don't think it's always a terrible idea to trust that the youth is on its development. I brought this up. Most of you saw it on Jason's channel, right? The pandemic really it delayed some of the development on these guys. So that's why guys with like Volpe, Pereira, Dominguez, it might take them an extra year. Wells I think is on track. I don't think there's any issues with Wells. I don't think there's any issues with Volpe this year. His power may be down from last year, but as long as he's making contact and he's able to steal bases, that's why he's on this team. He's on this team to get on base and run like a motherfucker. right? Which is why they really wanted to have it work in the leadoff spot that we're going to see, with Volpe, Soto, and Judge. And for a while, it was working until it wasn't. And we just started to see as the shine came off of Volpe in the leadoff spot, he had to take a step back a little bit. The Egyptian magician saying, I met Dave Winfield in the Hamptons last year. Dude's huge and super friendly. I've heard that. I've heard that Dave Winfield is he's very approachable. Same thing with Strawberry, I've heard too. Is very, yeah, no, Brad, you're right. I think he wanted to steal every time he was on base. I think he wanted to steal, but the Yankees kind of took that away from his game, and that's shame on them. Because when we were being in the beginning of the season, a lot of the players were being aggressive on the bases, and it was paying off. Japanese players aren't coming to the. I don't see it, but you can't say never. You really can't, Li. You got to be fair about it. Jonathan, right at the end of this comment here from Jonathan. Yankees farm is also rich in infielders. I don't see them giving millions to Torres when they can play a rookie. Exactly. Because and this is going to tie into Dominguez, and I'm sure with Rob and Donald will really dive a little more into it. I'll give you my quick take right now. The Yankees are playing for the long game. Okay. They can bring him up now. I agree with Jason. Like, my initial reaction was I was irate. I was pissed. I'm like, what are they doing? And Duke Ellis, that's going to bring people, part of being a business is to put asses in the stadium. Who's going to the stadium to see? Who would you rather go see? Duke Ellis or Jason Dominguez? It didn't make sense. But in the business sense, it does. Because they do have to think long term, right? He's also coming off, the Tommy John. And as well as he's playing in the minor leagues, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate right away. And the Yankees have to play the long game and play the guys that, if Duke Ellis falls on his face, who's going to care? Nobody. If Dominguez comes up and falls on his face, we're going to be pissed they didn't trade him. So it's going to be the same bullshit. All right. So that's the end of that. And guys, really relax in the chat. Come on. It's our first night back. Don't make me shut it down. All right. I don't want to really get into all this shit. I'm staying on baseball for a lot longer than I wanted to, just because the chat is keeping it going. So I don't care who started it, but I'm finishing it right now. Please, don't ruin it. Yeah, David. I know they're filling the stadium right now. It wasn't like they need. I'm not saying that they need the attendance. I'm just using those two players as, who would you rather go see in the ballpark, Ellis or Dominguez? I'm not saying that they're having trouble selling tickets. Believe me, that is not the case. Jonathan, the After Dark show right now will be the Mondays or Tuesday morning at midnight. Monday at midnight. And so that is the plan to keep going forward. And look, as long as everybody's going to fucking behave themselves and act like gentlemen on my channel, we'll keep doing it. as long as you guys are interested. So that's that. One of the other things I do want to. All right, I'm going to get to a couple more comments on baseball, and then we're going to spend the last minutes here. We'll bring up something completely off topic, just to kind of get away from baseball and just have a little fun, just discuss stupid shit, and just all have a laugh with each other. I think the Jason Dominguez thing is a big deal because he's eligible for a PPI pick at 2024 to see. Yeah. But this is the thing I mentioned to Jason, right? And it was a very good back and forth on it. And I understand what he's saying. But what happens if he doesn't win Rookie of the Year? Is it a guarantee that next year he's going to win Rookie of the Year and we're going to get all the perks with it? Wouldn't it be better to kind of go all out now, where you have 1 year of Judge, 1 year of Soto, and you're trying to give him reasons to stay? Why not have the last month? Hey, look, Dominguez, Judge, Soto, that could be the outfield next year. Give Soto a taste of it now. Why not? Because I do agree with Jason and other people in the chat that were saying it. I do think that they're going to wait another week, and then they'll bring them up. They're going to do what they can to manipulate the amount of at bats, so they can still have him for a good portion of September, and not have him reach that rookie status. That when Jason mentioned that part of it, I was like, you know what? And my frustration that they didn't call him up initially, like, that does make sense. From a business standpoint, you do what's best for the business. And the best thing for the business is winning titles. Because when you're in that championship caliber, free agents want to be a part of it. Like, wait, that's what's going on over there. If I can get on that team, that's going to increase my chances of getting a World Series. You'll never convince me that Dominguez is not an upgrade over. No, he's not. He's definitely an upgrade over Verdugo. Verdugo sucks. He gave us the fire in the beginning of the year, and believe me, we had shows where we were like, shit, if this is what Verdugo is going to be over here, do you re-sign him? Do you give do you give him a qualifying offer? We actually had that discussion on the show. And now we're going, what the fuck are we thinking? That's what happens when you're reactionary. But that's the life of a baseball fan or a sports fan. Is we overreact to everything. A team wins a game, they're never going to lose again. And if a team loses, they're never going to win again. That's just the mentality of us all. We don't get to play it. They don't call it the player that we want. Guy's a freaking moron, right? We were all screaming for them to get players. Remember last year when Rodon was on the market. Oh, you got to get Rodon behind Cole. Oh, what a 1-2 punch. What did we get out of him his first year? He was a non-factor. He was a negative. And everybody was like, oh, why did you give him so much money? We were the ones that were begging him to fucking sign him. We all want bring up the youth, bring up the youth. Let them figure it out on the major league level. Fucking Volpe struggles a little bit. You guys want to cut him. Like, fans make no sense, right? But that's what makes sports fun. So let's. You know what? I was going to bring up something completely off base or off topic with sports, but I'm going to throw something at you, right? Because I think it's fitting with the beginning of football coming. There's a player on the Jets, I believe, Reddick. I am not a football fan. I do not pretend to know what I'm talking about with players. Okay. Do you think that a player who is under contract to a team has the right to hold the team hostage because they are not happy? Right. So I'm paying somebody to be a part of my organization, and they're like, well, I don't like the deal anymore. I want a new contract. You'll get a new contract when your contract expires. I already gave you guaranteed money. Now you want to hold, now you want to hold me on for more? You want to twist my arm? Go F yourself. The dude lost. The other day it was. I heard the talk on the radio. $5 million in lost game checks for his non-participation going into the season. I lose $1, I'm fucking pissed. I want 5 million of them. He got traded with the contract. As far as I know, like I said, somebody's got. If I'm wrong, but it's not even just that one particular player. In general, you see it in basketball a lot, right? It's the 3.5 things, Ken. I'm like I said, I don't. When it comes to other sports, I don't pretend to know what I'm talking about. Because once they start talking about football, I tune everything out. But I do think it's an interesting discussion. No honor. I don't think it's no honor. I just think the players think because they have the talent, they have the control. And I don't think that should be the case. And so Jonathan says no, they shouldn't have, players should not have that type of control. Sobel, no. Was Jonathan saying here, the team should have the option to end the contract if the player refuses to honor it. That's an option. You know what? You're fired. Now go find somebody else to go bitch to. And I think if they don't fulfill the contract, I'm sorry, that signing bonus, you gotta give that back. Give me my money back. You didn't. I gave you a bonus for signing with me, and you don't want to honor that. Then you got to pay that. You got to pay that money back in the organization. You lose that money. Sorry, that's how I feel about it. Ronnie's saying if you sign it, you got to honor it. Absolutely. Like we were having an issue at work with trying to, because I work for a school district, and we were trying to get a more of a competitive wage with some other districts, right? So we wanted to kind of go back to the table with the district and see if we can get a new contract. You know what they said? When your contract expires, we'll talk about it. And we were just told, and our reaction was, we did. Hey, you guys all signed to agree to that deal. You got to honor it until it expires, and there was nothing we could do about it. And I don't care if you're, an electrical work, you're working for an electrical union, a plumbers union, a custodial union, or a professional athlete, sports union. Contracts should be honored the way that they were constructed. No ifs, ands, or buts. You can't just go and make amendments because you're not happy. Wait a minute, who here goes to work every day, skipping down to the job? Some days you're in a great mood, you can't wait to get to work. And then there are sometimes you're like, shit, I gotta go to freaking work today. Those days I can't just be like, well, I'll come to work if you pay me more. It doesn't work like that, especially in union jobs. Let's bring up a couple of the comments. So Nick's saying exactly, Tess. If you don't honor the whole contract, give me the signing bonus back. That's the best idea you've ever had. Yep, I appreciate that. Believe me, I don't get many good ideas, but that I do think is a good one. David saying, Tess, the team that signed the players should get another draft pick. I don't know how that would work. I really don't. Roddy, yeah, we're old school. We're just we're grumpy old men. Well, Taz, no place in the world that you sign a contract and a few years later, it's like you need a pay raise and don't do your job. Football contracts make no sense. No, they don't. And Jonathan's adding into the contract. Their CBA goes to 2030. So they got a long ways to go before they could renegotiate for shit. They all know that contract, someone else is going to get more than you. Again, you signed it. Exactly. But that's, that's the angle I'm looking at. You agreed. You signed the dotted line. Too bad, so sad. This is what you're making. Go work for, a local mom and pop shop, and see how how well off you're going to be. You're making millions of dollars for a talent that a percentage of people have, and you want to act like a selfish bitch, because that's what you come off as. You're just a selfish bitch. And David here, that's if a player walks, you get a pick from the team who picks up. Okay, that would work. Just like it would work the same as for trading for picks. That's how I'm looking at it. NFL players can't do anything. Yeah, no, I know. I understand that. Task, my first job was a roofer's helper. My dad knew the company's owner. They shook hands, and the deal was my son will give you a full day's work for a fair day's wages. I jumped 30 square. Yep. But Ken, that's a different world. There's no such thing as a hard day at work for a good day's pay. It doesn't work. Everybody's like, I want to live the extravagant life, and I don't want to do anything. And they're really making a mockery of a God-given talent they have, and it's freaking disgusting. If you get paid to play a game, you should be grateful. Try to do a job that actually keeps this country running and only getting pennies compared to the athletes. Facts. They should be grateful. It says there's only a handful of people in this world with that level of talent. And that's how you want to conduct yourself? Sorry. Egyptian magician. Wait, I saw Nathaniel, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. I did see you jump in. Kind of got a little carried away in the discussion here. I do try to at least bring up everybody. So, Daniel, welcome to the family. That's I'm older than my time, man's word was his bond, didn't need a contract. No, I those were the days, Ken. I'm telling you. That was the best way to do it, like the barter system. Trading goods for what you need. It's so simple. It's a win-win for everybody. Roddy's saying, I dug ditches in the tundra in my world. I wanted out. My dad would say, saying, you got two things, your balls and your words. That's true. It is true. It was so much better back then. It really was. It sounds so, get off my lawn. But, think of to wrap this up with sports again, think of in baseball, think of all the great players, right, that we idolize from yesteryear. The Mantles and Berras and Ted Williams. Players that had to get jobs in the off season or lost years of their career for a war effort and never blinked, never bitched, right? And they would want money. I think the first player to hold out for a new contract, for a breaking contract, was Mantle, I think. I know he held out for him, but I don't know if he was the first. I don't want to make that assumption without really knowing. But I know that he did. I don't know if he was the first. What they would give to make the money they're making now. Oh, was it DiMaggio then? I thought it was Mantle that had that holdout for a big contract. Jonathan, if anybody would know off the top of his head, it would be you. So, well, listen, that's how I judge, not because he goes yard, because of his great character. Yeah. Well, he's in a little bit of a slump right now. So what? People want to get on him about it. If it wasn't for him and 2-3 other players on this team, we're not where we are. It's he's going to heat up again. There's no doubt about that. Also, back in the days, no computer. Yep. We were having this discussion with a couple of friends of ours today. You didn't mouth off. One, do you remember having to finish your chores before leaving the house? And you didn't think twice about it. You made your bed. You had a vacuum or dust the furniture, or help your mother with the dishes or your father with the lawn. And when that was all done, then you got to play. And they didn't know where you were going. Just be back for dinner. Right? I know there's a handful of people that remember that. I know Nick does. We grew up in this. We grew up together. We grew up in the same family. We all had the same rules. And so, yep. And Monday through Friday, like if there was a school night, there was no TV at night. No TV. That's just. You gotta love the tough guy. Everybody's tough behind the monitor. Yeah, everybody's a tough guy when you can't see them. The keyboard warriors, they call them. Yeah, Dave. Yeah, we didn't have to do that. What? Exactly. Yeah, Nick. We were scared of the consequences. And what do you mean? My mom and his mom are sisters, and it's they were cut from the same cloth. And you were even afraid of your friends' parents because they got permission to freaking whack you. Invite them to the mats. They would never survive. But I am going to be wrapping this up. I do want to thank everybody for coming back and having a little fun at the return of there was no TV anytime, really, unless it was like a really bad rainy day and everything was done. And most of the time you were just told to either play, you played a game, a board game, not a video game. It's, or you had to read. Yeah. So you either read all day, you played board games, you didn't sit in front of a video game. So, and I'm the oldest of 4. Nick's the oldest of 3. So there was plenty for we all self-entertained. So Yeah, wait till your dad gets home. Yeah, we got test patterns at midnight. Yeah, 2 or 3 channels. Yeah, there's no cable back then. That was the answer. Sandy Koufax and Drysdale were the first major league players to hold out to get. I knew you'd get it for me, buddy. That's why you're the man. But as I said, I do want to thank everybody that hung out and welcome back the return of Pinstripes After Dark. We will be doing this every Monday at midnight. As far as I'm planning to do it right now. So hope everybody did enjoy hanging out a little late with me tonight. Big thank you also to Jason for his support and letting me put the link in his chat before we came on. So if you are not already, make sure you also subscribe to Jason on 161 River Avenue. Make sure you subscribe to the Strike Zone with NFE, as he also has a phenomenal channel. Does shows multiple mornings during the week. Does the pre-games, he interviews players. He's got a phenomenal channel. Highly recommend checking him out as well. But we will be back. We will be back live in about 9 hours with the boys, and we will be breaking down everything Cole's injury. Jason, I'm sure we're going to have more discussions on Jason Dominguez. We will also be doing the awards and breaking down last night's game as well. So we want to thank everybody. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family. The stream is on the corner. This is the Pinstripe Chronicles, where fans become family. And always remember, wear those pinstripes with pride and play hard.